that the virtual services provided by those particular, you can call it as an asset or the device itself. It's an internet gateway, NAT gateway, service gateway. I will be covering the session about those later on in the next session in detail. But right now, just to brief it out, what exactly is internet gateway is nothing but it will be providing access to the internet for the internal network. NAT will be it will be taking care of the NATing. And service gateway is the one which will be giving an access to the internal services like object storage, database, mail, emails, exchange.
Hello, Saraswati.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you speak slowly and
Yeah.
repeat that VPN working? I didn't understand that.
VCN is something like a virtual cloud network. It's an IP address range provided. Like suppose if a company has got three different or two different departments or the compartments, then we'll be coming up with the two subnets. Subnetting will be done. We'll be having this main subnet, main IP address range provided by the network administrator, and it will be asking us like to come up with the subnets for those many employees from this department and the other department for those many employees. So we will average it out and we will come up with those two subnets. Like I've got this 10.0.0.0/16 ka network. I'll be subnetting it in /24. Okay, even though this address belongs to class A, I'll be doing subnetting so that I'll be getting two subnets. So subnets is nothing but a VLAN. VCN is something like an IP address range provided by, or the IP address is like the way we've got this. Now we've got Ashburn and we've got Phoenix. Phoenix as a DR, Ashburn as a data center, the main data center of Meritor. For Ashburn, we've got this IP address range. This is the IP address range provided for the Ashburn. Okay, so I mean, it takes a lot of time to even zoom out or zoom in. Within that VCN, you got different subnets like semi-trusted, trusted. You got routing subnet, subnet one, subnet two, backup subnet, um, the production subnet. Within production subnet, you have came up with one more subnet, like subnetting within subnetting. Those are the internal subnets that we have got. Subnet is nothing but just like a VLAN. And this is the service, this is IP address range provided. Um, Provided by the editor might be Oracle. So that's the VCN. So virtual private network sets up. It is a setup in the Oracle data center with firewall rules and specific types of communication interface, which I'll be briefing out in the later session, in the next session. This resides in single region. We've got so many regions. It can have one or more overlapping IPv4 CIDR blocks. Of course, we will be subnetting. We call it as CIDR. CIDR blocks can be modified after VCNs are created, of course. CIDR is nothing but subnetting. We have got IP addresses range. You are already aware. CIDR stands for classless interdomain routing. So we are aware of the subnets, subnetting part, class A, class B, class C. How the subnetting is done, I've already explained. But however, being said that the allowable OCI VCN range is only from /16 to /30. You have to remember this part. This is the main part. And in OCI, we've got the public IP and the private IP. What exactly is the public IP? Is nothing but the one which will help you to reach or to have an access to the internet. Private, I already explained this in the firewall, I suppose. Unlike public, we got the private IP, but private IP will not help you to have an access to the internet. It will be the internal network. Subnet is nothing but a VLAN. Each VCN network is subdivided into subnets, of course. Each subnet has a contiguous range of IPs described inside a notation. A subnet can grow or shrink. Each subnet can be the AD specific or regional specific. AD specific availability, it will be only attached to the AD availability domain, or will be regional specific. That is recommended, like it will be attached to the region. AD specific subnet is contained in single AD in a contained in a single AD in a multi-AD region. It can be a single AD or multiple multi-ADs. Regional subnet spans all three ADs. In regional subnet will be applicable for all the ADs availability domains within that region. So we've got private subnet and public subnet. Again, similarly, unlike we've got the private IP and public IP, we've got private subnet and public subnet. Instances which are placed in the subnet logically draw their internal IP address and network configuration from their subnet. The VCN determines how the instance connects with the endpoints inside and outside the VCN. We've got the two different subnets, private and the public. It contains both private and public IP addresses assigned to the VNIC. Like we've got those VMs, the instances are nothing but the VMs. VMs is nothing but the virtual machine. So each and every virtual machine will be having VNIC, virtual NIC, network interface card. The way we've got network interface card in our laptop, the virtual machine will be also having the VNIC. So each and every instance will be having private and public IP, or the sub private and public IP, and we can come up with a private and public subnet. Apart from that, this is very important. Like a VCN covers one or more IPv4 CIDR blocks, CIDR blocks of your choice. I generally call it CIDR because it's an abbreviation of Cisco Interdomain Routing, but people from Oracle call it as CIDR. The allowable VCN range size range is from /16 to /30, and the networking service reserves the first two IP address. When you consider the subnet or VLAN in Cisco, we'll be reserving first IP and the last IP. First is a network, the last is a broadcast. But in VCN, we will be reserving first two IP addresses and the last one in each subnet. That's all for today. Later on, I'll be covering route table, security lists, PSP options, and other stuff like internet gateway, other services. The next session.
Okay.
So this is done. Tomorrow session, I'll be covering the details about security list and security gateway. Why the hell he has not mentioned NAT gateway and other stuff? Route table. Yes. Where is NAT gateway, service gateway, and all other stuff? What I'll be doing is I'll be adding that session, or I'll be adding it in this PPT itself. That's all.
Thank you, Saraswati.
Yeah. Welcome. Take care. Again, you will be attending that Durvesh ka, apna, Rashid ka session, right?
Today it will have.
Yeah, I mean, he is coming up with those um, details about tickets. I don't know again what exactly he wanted to convey.
Okay, I'll join, but I didn't find any kind of link in my calendar.
Okay. Actually, I received an email about the same. I'll be assigning SSL cert task to you to update on new F5 big IP. He will be assigning some tasks, SSL certificate tasks to you to update on new F5 big IP. I'm rearranging the certs to give it to you guys. Please let me, what is this? Please let me know what time you guys will be available for a small session. I already mentioned like when we can take care of.
Okay.
Okay then. Bye. Take care.
When meeting will arrive, please call me or message me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he will be of course he will be inviting you as well as me. He will be
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
up with invite. So we'll be attending the session the moment we'll get the invite. Take care.
Thank you.